Whew, right, let's get ready, shall we? Wow, welcome brethren and fellow vinyl junkies in a digital age. I'm Skelly, welcome to the video. As you saw, the Black Keys new album is out, it's called Peaches. Empire Records very kindly got a nice fresh white vinyl copy of this on the day of release as it goes. So we did well there, well done Empire Records. There it is with that gorgeous, luscious looking peach in the picture there. There we are. We're sweltering in degrees of around, well, 30 Celsius at the moment here where I live and work. Yesterday we were in Southend, like, you know what I mean? Down Southend, weren't we? You know, giving it large with all the old seafood and guzzling the old cider and that. Yeah, nothing kicked off though because I'm not that kind of bloke, you know what I mean? So there we are. We were down Southend, so it was great. Anyway, back to this. We kicked off with Where the Smoke There's Fire, a full tilt blues boogie with a nice fat brass section. I'll tell you who they are in a sec. A fine no-nonsense performance promises a lot for this record, and the brass section is the Budos horns. Dave Guy, he's trumpet. Jared Tankle on baritone saxophone. Ian Hendrickson Smith, he does a tenor saxophone. And Kochimiya Gastelum is on alto sax. The album was released on the 1st of May 2026, produced by the Black Keys. It's on Easy Eye and Warner Sounds, or Warner Records actually. And after a period of some turmoil, because they've had an up and down kind of career over the Black Keys, they've kind of reached so far and then gone down again. It's been all over the place really, hasn't it? I got into them with El Camino, their first album. I also love Dropout Boogie, another good album. But a lot of the other albums left me a bit not sure. Delta Cream's good. That's an album of covers a bit like this, with a different take. So I may review that separately one day, who knows, if I'm still around, that is. Kenny Brown on guitar, Eric Deaton on bass. Jimbo Mathis contributes the most though. Wurlitzer, acetone, guitar, organ, mouth harp and harmonica, shaker bells. He's got Christian Lair helping out on tambourine and shaker, and Sam Bacco, who does a tambourine, a shaker and a hand drum. And I've got a feeling that's one of those ones where you go like this, isn't it? And the drum twists like this and the little bead on the end of the string bops and bops both sides. I think that's what that is, and if so, it's really hard to do because I have tried. Dan Auerbach is our vocal and guitar man as always with the Black Keys, and Patrick Carney, his partner in crime, on the drums. As I say, they've had a funny old ups and downs of life, but this seems to do something. It gave me a huge sigh of relief because I love the Black Keys. So Blues Rock Review, they do justice to the legends they are paying tribute to. They add their own flair and signature sound to the historic tunes. The album strikes the perfect balance between sounding fundamentally like the recording band whilst maintaining the soul of the original music they're playing. And I've said the duo attack these songs with gusto and wild abandon. There's fire in the belly, last detected on Delta Cream cover set, and it reminds us of how choosing sometimes the less obvious songs to cover can give the illusion that the album is full of originals, even though it isn't. So there you are, that's quite clever, isn't it? And I found that with Delta Cream too. I felt the Black Keys owned the tracks. Let's check that theory out with Who's Been Fooling You. Okay, the second track after Where the Smoke Was Fire, by the way, is called Stop Arguing Over Me. The trademark fuzz sound is laced with sweet lead guitar lines, and it gives this insistent blues a slightly faster pace than the first track. I love the way also that Dan can entwine his voice at a higher pitch with the instrumentation from time to time, particularly on choruses, and he does that on this song. It's really good. I'm not going to play that one. A very assured rendition. So that's track 2 on the fuzz side, which is side 1. Okay, so track 3, which is the one I want to play, is Who's Fooling You. So we're going to try and line that up as best I can. I'm a bit rubbish at this, so bear with. Particularly on the white vinyl. It's not so easy on the white vinyl. Right, I had to play a bit more of that song for you, I just can't resist. That's an Arthur Crudup original, as you know, covered by the Black Keys here. Fantastic, I love Arthur Crudup stuff. And not enough of his stuff gets to the light of day, and it's a big shame. But there's Who's Been Fooling You. The first track, of course, Where the Smoke Was Fire, was Willie Griffin. You knew that. Stop Arguing Over Me, Levester Carter wrote that. But Who's Been Fooling You by Arthur Crudup? Absolutely brilliant. Let's read out what we think of that track. Well, slightly slower and fuzzier, but boosted by a succulent organ sound, thanks to that chap we were telling you about earlier, Jimbo Mathis. Quite a talented man and plays lots of things. He does. So this Arthur Crudup classic romps along until a crazy attack of guitars blasts in and then burns out in an organ and guitar collapse at the end. Sometimes you follow a track faithfully, sometimes you inject something of your own. And I felt on this album that the Keys had, perhaps even more so than on Delta Cream, put something of themselves into the songs. I don't know if you feel that way, but if you've got the album, you might want to give me a comment on that and tell me what you think. Track 4, It's a Dream, Sweet Mouth Harp from Jimbo Mathis. Lends this slow blues burner a swampy feel. This piece is as laid back as it is tightly played. Ooh. Fuzz side 1, closes out with Tomorrow Night. Some more of the same riff rotating blues rock closes out the first side with more intertwined or entwined vocals with the instrumentation and some imaginative percussion. But I thought we'd go with the mouth harp, delicious mouth harp one, It's a Dream, track 4 on the fuzz side, to finish off checking out this side of the album. So we'll go with a bit of that and then we'll move on. really swampy. A real Black Keys do that sometimes, and they do it so well. Not everybody likes this album. Pitchfork said, if Peaches is about getting dirty again, then the threads may now be too bare to hold the strain. Okay, it's sad how staid and complacent Peaches sounds. Well, are they staid and complacent rock fans? Or are they just really comfortable playing these songs? Ah, fine dividing line there. I don't know. I think Pitchfork are being harsh, quite frankly. So Louder Sound say they've made a long overdue and welcome return to the cranked up amps, distortion and rawness that first fueled them. Far Out magazine, this is the rawest and most emotive album that the Black Keys have ever put out. I think it is emotive in the sense that they're emotional about it because they've had a rough time, as I said, and I think they need a breathing space and a bit more of a, I don't know, a bit more of a start. Well, Flash side, that's side 2 in normal circles, starts off with this. And I'm just going to launch straight into it and then tell you about it in a second, because this is an artist who often gets overlooked. I love that track so much I can leave that on all day on repeat. Absolutely love it. Who wrote it? I hope you can tell me. If you can't, here's a clue. He married somebody called Tina and he wasn't very nice to her. It's a bit of a shame because his music's fantastic. Yeah, You Got to Lose, the great Ike Turner. And I say great advisedly. Okay, there's a story about how he behaved towards his missus, and I'm sure there's more to that than meets the eye. There's his side of the story, which I've also read in the book he produced, where he sounds like he's making excuses a lot of the time, to be honest, for bad behaviour rather than actually justifying anything he did. But none the more, he on his own was a very effective rock and roller, wrote a lot of good stuff, and he and Tina also did a lot of good stuff. So I have to respect that. And the Black Keys have chosen this as the track to kick off side 2, or the Flesh side. So just as with Where There's Smoke There's Fire, it's a real message of intent in that track, I think. It's a surefire, rock solid Ike Turner rocker welcoming the Black Keys and wishing Elvis happy birthday. They do that at the beginning, by the way. I skipped that. And it's played with the boys' usual verve, but lent more urgency than other cuts so far, with Patrick Carney's inspired drumming, which really comes through on this song. Track 2 on the Flesh side is Tell Me You Love Me. Okay. Guitars now start to slide around a little bit. There's a bit of wow going on. In a song imploring full disclosure in a loving relationship. Very pedestrian fare in itself, but it grooves along nicely. It kind of links to the next track, which we've got to play also. This is a track which some people have criticised. Well, they've criticised his version of it, I have to say, not criticised the song. I'm going to lay the needle down on track 3 and let you decide where that's taking us. And then I'll give you my view. So track 3 is there. feel-good classic, She Does It Right. And I think that was really brave of them to attack that song, because it's one of the better known ones on the album, written by the one and only Wilko Johnson. It's going to attract a lot of and comparison, isn't it? It's bound to, let's face it. So a lot of people say, well, they haven't hit it as sharp as Dr. Feelgood did, and I say this: She Does It Right, lacking the Wilko Johnson touch to give this track its sharp pinstripe suit. The keys opt for a much wilder fuzz rock approach, and thus there's no attempt to compete with other interpretations of this classic song. In other words, they throw it all away, all the care, and say, right, we're going to go for it and fuzz it up and black keys it. And I, for one, think it works. I call it an inspired and totally perfect fit for this collection. Fireman Ring the Bell comes next, recalling El Camino and Delta Cream stylings. And this is so boogaloo and so Black Keys a la the Dropout Boogie album, it's hard to believe that this is not an original from the boys. This hammers along like it's driving nails in a swamp canoe. Ooh. The fuzz side closes out with Nobody But You, Baby. This rolls more than it rocks, and all the better for it. It's a loping and lazy, kind of lazily along, but devoid of swagger. This is another woozy, bluesy workout, really. It's the longest track on the album, with over 7 minutes, but it doesn't lose its way. It's very, very classy. But I'm not in the mood for classy today. I'm in the mood for rocking out on something a bit more, well, I suppose a bit more obvious. Right, so 1, 2, 3. We've got to find, what I'm trying to find here is Fireman Ring the Bell, which is track 4. So we know that's the last track there. So track 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 starts about there. So this should be, let's go back a bit. I think we got it. Thank you for subscribing and leaving comments and putting your thumbs up or down. Whatever it is you do, we welcome all of it. We want more. I think you'll agree this is a very fine album. Keys have not always been consistent, they've not always been the darlings, and they've not always been as good as this. But this, I think you'll agree, is a really rough, tough, raw album. I've called it also a gleeful, raw, unvarnished romp through some choice blues rock covers, and it sees a renewed spirit stripped of any pretension. Nice bit of sliding about there, which is something I love on albums like this. Well, I think that'll do for today. Thank you again for viewing. I'm glad you stayed to the end, if you have. If you haven't, you won't know what I'm talking about, will you? Because I think this is a really good album. I'm very proud to have presented it to you today, and I'm very grateful for my friends at Empire Records for getting it to me so promptly. Well done, guys. That's it, we're all done. Keep on rocking.